can't melt steel beams.
The challenge facing the United States is that we have to be right one time. 100% of the time.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's.
This shit's bad for my career.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Frogs gay.
The lunar landings were more than likely fabricated.
Michael Jackson, he moonwalked. NASA didn't. The moon doesn't even exist.
Oh my god, that's the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
I'm not gonna lie, you threw a curveball at me.
The Illuminati, this is their main form of communication. They meet at the cloning station.
Reptilian, non-human race.
That's nonsense. Down the rabbit hole we go.
Aliens.
R. Kelly nuked Paul Walker's car.
I can't believe the Philippines would do anything dodgy.
We've got to look at the facts here.
I doubt we will.
It's hard for me to explain why that was the case. Just take my word for it.
Jesus fucking Christ, James.
Lex Luger. He's also part of a dodgy death. But there's a thing, it's like when you get hurt and you've got to kind of play it off that you're hurt, it's called selling.
Right.
But he had the best selling, so every time he got hit, he'd go, ah! Ooh! Ah! But then every time he'd punch somebody, he'd still get the selling. He'd punch and he'd go, ah! Ah!
Hi. Said, well, hello and welcome to episode 2 of our Chris Benoit podcast. This is Jet Fuel Can't Melt Steel Beams. I'm Ben. With me is Rob.
Hello.
And as always, we've got James Dunbar with the facts.
As always.
You went full name as well.
Thanks for sharing.
Aye, no worries, man. Have you got a fact for us this week, James?
Yeah, today's fun fact. So we have
fun in quotations.
United States has the biggest population percentage of people behind bars. The US contribute to being more than 25% of the total population of people worldwide that are incarcerated. The US only makes up 5% of the world's population, which therefore means, ironically, there are a large number of people living in the land of the free that are not actually free. Not sure on the stats for Canadians, but we'll roll with it.
I like how this is take 2 and you still said incarcerated again.
No. Incarcerated.
This is I love how just read the typo. Can we just clarify the word is incarcerated?
Yeah,
apologies, people.
Excellent, so let's get into it. Do you want to give us a wee recap on the last episode, James?
Yeah, so last episode we discussed obviously Chris Benoit, a bit of his background into his wrestling careers with various federations. We got down a bit of his kind of mental health, the things he was dealing with, and importantly the kind of trauma that he caused to his brain through the career that he had.
Yeah, his own offense was like his biggest downfall.
Yeah, the flying headbutt.
Yeah.
So we talked about that, and ultimately what led to a horrific crime with the double murder suicide. He took the life of his wife and his son before then taking his own life over a 3-day period. It was very, very grim. So we're going to just venture on the wild side and slide down the rabbit hole.
Venture on the wild side.
I know. It's not like a fun wild side either. It's like, oh God.
I hope these theories are as fucking batshit as possible just to make light of a very fucking grim situation.
Yeah.
They're
going to have to be, because this is quite clean cut.
we'll try to do it in a kind of escalation
So you're going to say
the
first one you're going to hit us with is going to be the least batshit.
Possibly. Okay, so let's get this going then. So we're going to start with the family physician or doctor. We've got Dr. Aston. So following the tragedy, it emerged that Benoit's physician, Dr. Phil Aston, had been prescribing him with testosterone and other prescription pills. Federal Drug Enforcement investigators raided the office of Benoit's doctor, Phil Aston. Dr. Aston told the press that he had met with Benoit that Friday, the day Nancy was killed, and had prescribed him with testosterone to boost levels of the hormone that were in decline. The raid focused on whether Benoit's medical records showed he was prescribed steroids, and if so, whether the prescription had been necessary. Dr. Phil Aston originally faced a single charge involving improperly prescribing medication. It was also reported that Nancy Benoit met with Dr. Aston the day before her murder to try and gain information about treating her son Daniel. Now, apparently, according to a couple of sources, the District Attorney Scott Ballard had said Daniel had needle marks on his arm at the crime scene. Chris Benoit's son is alleged to have had Fragile X syndrome.
And what is that?
Fragile X.
So Fragile X syndrome is an inherited condition which presents with typical behavioural, developmental and physical problems. It's the most common cause of sex-linked general learning disability. And there was a rumour that Daniel was taking growth hormone injections, and speculation entailed that Chris Benoit had been juicing him because he was small for his age. However, Nancy's sister obviously later denied these claims.
So he was like...
Given his own complex of being too small, has then
given his kid stuff.
Yeah, so this is apparently what's come out in some of the kind of press stories. Again, we don't know how legit all of this is, but that's one of the
fucking crazy thing
stories.
as well. I was about to say I'm questioning like Benoit's intelligence, but obviously that's really dubious from what we've heard so far. But steroids won't make you grow faster. It's not going to make you a taller kid. If anything, it's going to stunt you from growing.
Yeah, because it's synthetic hormone. It's replacing shuts down what's naturally in your body.
Yeah, like I know so many like people that have had like, I don't know, it's like rashes or something when they were kids and they were given like steroids as a treatment, and then they're always people that are like 5'2".
I had steroids injected into my ears when I was a kid.
That's why you've got such muscly ears. There's flex and everything.
I know. It's fucking great. We'll just move on from that.
So, just to summarise, Aston was actually later sentenced in 2009 to 10 years in prison for over-prescribing medications. It was noted that 3 of his patients died with his drugs in their system.
Jesus.
These were Chris Benoit, ECW wrestler Johnny Grunge, and the third actually undisclosed name, but suspected to be Sherry Martel. It was Dave Meltzer that's
fucking hell. So he was a legit
shit doctor,
but he was the wrestler's go-to then.
Yes, they're going to him to get testosterone.
He took out Johnny Grunge, who I don't have too much knowledge of.
Great name though.
I think he was part of like a big tag team in ECW, but Sherry Martel is a big name for like old school wrestling, Hulkamania, like the sensational Sherry.
So,
fuck.
Yeah, I mean,
this doctor was juicing out everyone.
I think as well as testosterone or steroids, he's obviously prescribing the kind of anti-anxiety drugs that we'd gone over.
And the Xannies.
Painkillers, things like that. So he's over-prescribing things that's ultimately led to the
death of at least
these
3
wrestling
people.
stars. So he was sentenced to 10 years for that. So let's.
What a shock!
I know. I didn't know. I thought, fuck, that's a.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting to know who else he supplied at the time who was still alive.
Yeah, and how fucked they are now.
Yeah,
there's probably a lot of being that kind of just brushed under the carpet.
Yeah, well, Vince McMahon has a habit of doing that. Vince McMahon was he was hit with a major steroid scandal in I think in the early 90s.
Yeah,
and
possibly.
this was during the time of the Land of the Giants, where everyone was massive. And then after
like Andre the Giant.
Well, no, Andre wasn't juicing. He just had gigantism,
and so pleased with himself as well.
And he went to court about it. And there's a famous thing where it's like Hulk Hogan went on a chat show. And it was like they went to him, and it was like I can't remember the name of the chat show, but it's the boy who was Eddie Murphy's best friend in Coming to America. But somebody listening will know. But he was like, so do you take steroids? And Hulk was like, no, brother.
Solid answer.
I drink my milk and eat my vitamins. And then after the steroid trial, lost like 7 stone of muscle.
It's just a solid juicing answer, isn't it?
Yeah,
protein shakes.
Yeah.
So let's
natural hemp extract.
Yeah. Okay. So rabbit hole. Let's descend. So, the last phone calls. So, Chavo Guerrero, Eddie's brother and a close friend of Benoit, had talked to Chris for a while on the Friday night on his house phone. It's widely speculated, and according to WrestlingPundit.com, Chris had told him that there was somebody knocking at his door and he was going to see who it was. Shortly after Chris answered the door, there was a scuffle noises, and then his house phone line went dead. Chris could only be reached on his phone 3 hours later. Could this explain why there was no forced entry? Benoit possibly let the killer or killers in?
Probably not.
Maybe he just did it himself.
During an interview on Greta Van Susteren's On the Record show, Chavo explained that at about 3:30 p.m. he got a voicemail from Chris saying he'd overslept and missed his flight for a live event in Beaumont, Texas. Chavo returned the call and said Benoit sounded very strange, groggy and tired. He said that Chris told him, "I love you, Chavo," which was not unusual but sounded like something wasn't right. After the call ended, Chavo called Benoit back to check he was okay, as something didn't sit right. Benoit said he'd been having a stressful day and that Nancy and Daniel had food poisoning. This was the last time they spoke. He didn't mention anything about a scuffle, however.
I mean, to me, that just sounds like maybe Chris Benoit was just saying goodbye.
Possibly.
Yeah, it does. There's another thing we didn't mention in the first episode, is that prior to his death, I think they heard. I think they had heard about his death.
Prior to his death?
No, prior to his death.
We've got this to come.
Oh, you've got
this to come, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll throw it in.
Can if you want. Yeah.
Is that prior to them knowing what had actually happened, all we had reports was that Benoit had died, and they did the same thing for Eddie Guerrero, where it was a televised show, and he brought all the wrestlers out to all pay kind of like
respect.
Yes, and then they over the days they found out what had happened, and then that episode has been retracted.
Buried the footage.
Yeah.
Under Vince McMahon's carpet again. So it's just bulging
so
out of the minute.
So they think that Benoit had a scuffle, and then he had going back to what you're saying. Benoit, somebody had rang the doorbell, and then it could be the real attacker.
So the conspiracy is there is a third party.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
speculation on who that third party is, or is that where we're going?
Yeah, so that's where we're going. We're going down the route of why people believe that there is a third party, and then we'll get into who this third party could be, or parties. So Benoit told another co-worker the food poisoning story, and WWE officials that Nancy and Daniel were hospitalised because of it. The WWE backed this up and also said that when Chris called in and told them that his wife and son were sick, he did not sound like himself. Again, he sounded groggy, and he also said, "I love you," which they said was very out of character. Is this evidence again?
Phone at work and saying, "I'm not coming in, but I love you."
Yeah, and it's not. This isn't like one of us who maybe has relatively good relationships with our co-workers. This is Chris Benoit.
This is a guy that banned someone for eating chicken in the locker room.
Yeah, for 6 months.
He doesn't throw these phrases about.
Yeah, he wasn't a positive person.
So some believe this is evidence of an intruder or signs that he'd been drugged. Now, I know there's drugs in the system, but it's likely he's probably taken them himself. But people do believe that he had been drugged in the cocktail of drugs he was given.
And he'd been forced to phone all these people. And
yes, that's right. So going on from the last phone call, we've got the last text messages as well. So Benoit sent strange text messages to friends around the same time prior to the wrestler taking his own life. On the Saturday, this would have been after the murder of Nancy, Chris sent Chavo a text telling him his address. Here's a series of texts sent on the Saturday morning to Chavo and other co-workers. I'll read them out. So
this is like fucking...
I'm really interested here. So I understand the text to Chavo, because Chavo was Eddie's nephew, I think.
So close relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously, even though he was Eddie's nephew, they were quite close in age and would travel with them as well whilst in training.
So there is the connection there.
There is there is that big connection. He was essentially, I think Benoit wasn't known to let people in that easy, but I think he got kind of a free roll in just because he's like, nah, he's Eddie, he's my brother.
cousin
he's
or
got to happen,
relation.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So on the Saturday morning, Chris Benoit's cell phone sent, "My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane, Fayetteville, Georgia, 30215. And straight after, the dogs are in the enclosed pool area, garage side door is open." A minute later at 3:54 a.m, from Nancy's cell phone, "My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane, Fayetteville, Georgia, 30215. This was then sent again from Nancy's phone at 3:55 and 3:58 a.m. Why were they sent? It's after she's died. He sent these text messages from his phone and her phone.
So he killed his family, but he didn't kill the dogs?
No, apparently not. No.
Good man.
So
But who did he send the text messages to?
To Chavo.
Just to Chavo?
He sent them to Chavo and
So, like, the same
is it Scott
text several
Armstrong, the
times?
wrestler, the referee wrestler.
No, Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. Going back to that glue
Mind
again.
getting skill.
So basically, Chavo already knew where Chris lived. So he'd apparently spent the previous weekend with him, and surely if he knew he had killed them and was away to commit suicide himself, Chris wouldn't care. The police obviously responded to this, and I quote, "The assumption is that that was an effort to try to get somebody to come find the bodies after the suicide. That is our assumption."
I'd say that makes sense. I mean, he was obviously not in his right frame of mind committing these crimes, or, if he did commit these crimes, and just to have a blanket text to send out to make sure that someone
fed his dogs,
comes around and feeds his dogs and finds the bodies. That's not, I wouldn't say that's, suspicious.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so that's just I guess it's like somebody that's not in the right frame of mind.
It is quite freaky, and it obviously is going to lead people to go down the conspiracy route.
Yeah, but it's
like that.
it's it's just a because it's worded exactly the same. So it's obviously a blanket text. He's copy and pasted, and he's just mass sending it out to whoever just to make sure that someone will find them. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's suspicious.
What day was that you sent it? Was that
Saturday? So it was Saturday night. So that'll be after he killed.
But after he's killed the family, so he's obviously spent time.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, this is grim saying it, but essentially building up or thinking about what's my next steps here. How do I?
So he's obviously that's pushed him to then go and commit suicide himself a few hours after.
In the weight room as well, eh?
Yeah.
That's quite a poignant place to do it for himself. Do you know what I mean?
I think it was surrounded. Heavily mirrored as well.
Oh.
Just for more details.
I was just going to say though, if you've been taking steroids and your neck is the size of a tree trunk, you're going to want to use the weights to make sure that you get the job done, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a snap neck job as opposed to asphyxiation.
You're not going to carry the weights into the living room, because that's just wasted effort.
That's what's fucked up, is that he's taken out this family, it's not funny at all. He's taken out his family slowly, but for himself, he's like, nah, I'll just go out fast.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
This is the most selfish kind of thing. The whole thing's selfish and unreasonable and deranged.
I think I should have a counter for every time I say fucked up. So I'm going to stop saying that now.
I kind of feel like I wish I had a list of just like nice things I could say, because
yes,
this is dark.
I like Grim though. Grim's good.
We've got to think about the fact that we want people to actually listen to this and keep listening.
We've got some anomalies then and discrepancies. So the New York Daily News summarised that on Sunday evening, WWE officials had went on to make several attempts to contact Benoit via phone and text messages, as well as the local hospitals in the Atlanta area. As of 11 p.m. Sunday night, there was no contact made with Benoit. Chris Benoit's phone was apparently also missing for a long time during the investigation.
Was it later found, or?
Yeah. So, or it was, I'm not sure on kind of logistics, but basically they couldn't find his phone for a long time, or they couldn't find the evidence within the phone for a long time.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of grey area for conspiracy theorists to play about in.
Yeah. So the WWE timeline discrepancies then. So let's dive into this. So an article on concussionincorporated.net, another unfortunate web address,
fucking hell,
stated that there were two.
This is like a wrestling fan site.
Possibly, yes.
Possibly, yes.
For fuck's sake, that's what they've called their website, Concussion Incorporated. Fucking arseholes, man.
So, stated that there were two conflicting timelines describing the events. The WWE corporate timeline of events states that Benoit was booked on a flight from Atlanta to Houston on the Sunday. A number of newspapers had reported that he was booked on a flight between the same airports but scheduled for the Saturday. The sheriff's report concludes evidence of the flight booked for the Saturday. Phone logs between colleagues and in fact between Benoit and Delta Airlines themselves record the fact the flight was booked for the Saturday also. Why would WWE assert that he was booked for the Sunday when this clearly wasn't the case? No answer.
Sorry, I was on out there for a bit, but
basically WWE said he was booked on a flight between Atlanta to Houston on the Sunday evening.
That could just be in the midst of a media fucking fiasco, just giving out the wrong day. Like, that's
the thing is they're not working. The wrestlers at this time, even though it's a much chiller time in wrestling. He could have been most likely booked on that plane, but he was like, "Yeah, I can't go. Book another one."
Yeah, so there could have been multiple bookings. Yeah,
so yeah, we're going to just assume that this is either just a mistake in the press release from WWE.
Because you have to remember, these are guys that are traveling like 365.
Yeah,
and mistakes are going to happen, and these are the kind of guys that they have to book everything for themselves. That's not paid by the Fed,
and it's not uncommon.
They have to get their company cars. They have to pay for all that. There could be a fuck up in just to travel.
Yeah, so he could potentially have been booked on two separate flights, with one being cancelled. That's Okay.
Mm-hmm. So following on from the timeline that WWE put forward, Chavo Guerrero's statements to police contradict this timeline of events and actually put himself and Scott James, former referee Scott Armstrong, in awkward positions as they'd heard from Benoit early on the Saturday morning with the strange text messages, but didn't alert WWE officials until 36 hours later on the Sunday. Why did they not advise WWE earlier? And also, why did WWE not chase Benoit up before the Sunday? WWE want us to believe that Chavo and Scott James didn't make company executives aware of Benoit's final text messages to them until 36 hours after they were sent. They are stuck by the fact that as soon as they were told, they alerted police. So basically their timeline states that Chavo and Scott James had waited a long, long time, 36 hours, and then within 15 minutes, WWE had contacted the police. The police got back to them later that afternoon and said that they'd found 3 deceased bodies.
So if they're saying they went straight to the police, is there any corroborated evidence is there a police report or anything from would it be the Saturday?
No, we can't find. There's not enough details on that. But
the reason for them not saying anything, in my way of looking at it, is that they all belong in these groups. This is one of the big things within wrestling at this time, is that people belonged in cliques.
Yeah,
there's a group that is just called the clique. who now essentially are going to be close to like one of them running the business.
Right.
Yeah. But at this time they'd be like, brothers, we stay quiet, and also you have to remember this isn't just a normal business. They can't go to their manager and go, look, we've got this thing from Chris. It's a bit weird. It means I
think maybe we should look into it.
He might not show up. Is that that's not a normal manager who's just going to go, oh, okay, that's a great point. Let's have a look into this. Their manager is Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yeah. So
first thing is he's wanting to keep his hands clean.
It's why he keeps hands clean, but he's thinking about fucking money. Yeah. So if it's like, oh, there's a chance this wrestler won't show up, well, he's getting fucking axed. So let's not go straight to WWE with this.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's going to be the bearer of bad news to Vince. And Vince is going to
triple cross-faced.
Yeah, Vince is not going to lash out at Benoit, who's the fucking star. He might fine him, but the person who will lash out, this is how he's a petulant child, is that he'll look at people in his little group of friends and is like, I'll fuck you over.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you see Chavo? Chavo didn't have much of a chance anyway. Eddie was the star. And he's like, I'll bring you down. So a little bit of history of Chavo is that Chavo wasn't really, he was a great wrestler, wasn't getting that much of a move for big titles. So he was given a new identity of a white man. So his name was like his name was like Herman.
Carl.
His name was like Herman or something. So what they did is they put him in like white makeup. They made him wear like slacks, like 50s Americana clothing, like for Grease, but for one of the teachers' kind of clothing. And then they dyed his hair blonde.
Oh, you fucker.
So that's what they did to him. I think this was after Benoit's death as well. So they maybe still punished him.
So late 2000s.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's even worse. Is like Vincent he has no grasp of like.
And that's not okay.
Yeah, Vincent kind of a man is an interesting character in himself, but I can understand why they wouldn't want to say anything to him.
Yeah,
because he's a nasty piece of work.
Yeah. So just to summarise that, in WWE's words, as usual, they're saying they did nothing wrong and alerted authorities straight away as soon as they were told about the text. Yeah. This is obviously widely speculated within the wrestling community, for one, to not be the truth. So they're wanting to keep themselves clean. So
I know, it's shock, isn't it?
Let's move on to perhaps one of the most intriguing mysteries surrounding the tragedy. Touched on it earlier on, the Wikipedia entry.
Oh God!
Some whole fucking thing hangs on a fucking Wikipedia entry.
Something that can be edited by anyone in the world.
So
don't even have to log in.
So there was a Wikipedia entry that announced Nancy Benoit's death more than 14 hours before the police discovered the bodies. The edit, which is preserved by Wikipedia's revision history, occurred at 12:01 a.m. following the Vengeance pay-per-view event. It reads, Chris Benoit was replaced by Johnny Nitro for the ECW Championship match at Vengeance, as Benoit was not there due to personal issues stemming from the death of his wife, Nancy. Police found the bodies at around 2:30 p.m. That's more than 14 hours after the mention of his wife's death. What made this even more suspicious, however, was that the IP address of the user who made the edit was based in Stamford, Connecticut, the same town as WWE's corporate headquarters. This IP address has been used, however, to vandalise a series of Wikipedia entries. And the Benoit case could be an example of a vandal accidentally posting something that happened to be true.
Yeah.
There was later a second edit with the IP address tracing back to Australia, which stated, according to several pro wrestling websites, is attributed to the passing of Benoit's wife, Nancy. CNOT.com has details of both the specific IP addresses. The anonymous poster later apologised on wikinews.org in a long article posted online and attempted to pass the incident off as a massive coincidence, stating, and I quote, I just want to say that it was an incredible coincidence. I had heard about Chris Benoit no showing Vengeance because of a family emergency, and I had heard rumours about why that was. I was reading rumours and speculations about this matter online, and one of them included that his wife may have passed away, and I did the wrong thing by posting it on Wikipedia, despite there being no evidence.
Was that your Australian accent, James?
No, this is the guy in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, sorry.
I thought it was quite a good Connecticut accent.
I thought it was great. I love that voice as well. No, I totally agree. I totally believe what he said there. It's a massive coincidence. What happens is that we keep talking about this lad. His name keeps coming up, and it's Dave Meltzer.
Yeah.
And Dave Meltzer has Inside Men, and he has a thing I think it's called the Wrestling Observer.
Yep.
And what would have probably happened on this date is that he would maybe have like an online forum where we keep updating news. Obviously, it's coming up to a pay-per-view. This is big news time. This is the time to get traction and sell things. So on that Saturday or the Friday, whenever Benoit messaged him, like, my kid's unwell, my wife's from the well.
Yeah.
I can't make this. The chat's obviously gone around the locker room. One of his informers has contacted Dave for a little bit of money on the side.
Yep.
And went, I don't know if Benoit's going to make it. And then he puts it out on his forum. What probably happened is this boy who's editing, maybe a fan of this forum, has overheard it. And you know what it's like? He's obviously somebody who's, as it's with his, he's done a lot of dodgy shit on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
and he's saying, oh yeah, he's not making it because fucking Nancy's dead. And then Nancy's dead and he's just like, oh God. Oh God. Nancy, formerly known as Woman, is dead.
So, are we to believe this is a coincidence, or is there information floating about within the WWE?
I would say that's. I would say it's total coincidence.
I'd say all the quote unquote evidence so far has been pretty easy to talk through.
Here's a fun one for you. Fox News actually suggested that there was speculation that it could have been posted by Chris Benoit himself,
using
Wikipedia to announce his wife's death.
And what you use like I don't know if I'm
using
a man.
a VPN to
that's exactly what I'm
bounce his IP address.
I don't know if a man.
Try and frame Vince.
I don't know if a man with
dementia
at the to the level of an 85-year-old has the abilities to. I don't even think
also,
VPN was such a strong service at that time as well.
He's also sending like the same text from multiple phones. He's not really like hiding his tracks very well thus far.
Yeah.
This is a man that's obviously like in panic mode with the texts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I think the whole leaked information is definitely. It will come through the idea of like you'll have an informant or an inside guy making a bit extra buck, who sells that information off.
Cool. Okay.
And because I say it's for a championship as well, that's massive news. If he's not going to make it up, then you've got like probably 50,000 fans in an arena.
Yeah,
just paid to see this thing, and it's not going to head, so it's obviously going to make a bit of money.
Okay, so I'm just going to fire through some further apparent reporting discrepancies.
Okay.
So a thread on Reddit titled 24 Reasons That Chris May Be Innocent raises a few more arguments involving reporting discrepancies, i.e. Chris was apparently not hanging from the weight machine. Some say he was laying on the floor underneath the machine. Another officer apparently said...
pick up and drop it on his face. Like.
Another officer apparently said Benoit was slumped against it. As previously mentioned, the toxicology confirmed that Chris had the painkiller hydrocodone and the anti-anxiety drug Xanax in his system. These two drugs combined at a decent level should sedate Chris and make him tired, so he would not be able to use force, i.e. he couldn't have...
Wow.
Yeah, but then it's the same as the whole fucking Captain Grunge who shot himself. Like, there's too much heroin in his system, so he couldn't Kurt Cobain. Like, so he couldn't do it.
He's been doing it a long time. He's built a tolerance.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we've already gone over the fact that his doctor's prescribing him.
Yeah,
all this shit on the regular.
Yeah.
Like
that's the thing with like opioids and stuff like that. Is like just you have to keep chasing that hit. Do you know what I mean? That's it. You have to keep upping it eventually.
So many medical experts still debate about whether roid rage phenomenon even exists. So it's difficult to prove that roid rage was a cause. So a lot of people are saying that the media, etc., were jumping on the bandwagon, so it was roid rage that caused it.
Yeah,
make a quick aside here. Whenever anyone uses the words roid rage, all I can picture is Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk.
Snuff. It's just that was a joke against deaf people. I am not proud of myself.
So basically, there's no reliable scientific data to show that would be the cause.
No.
Roid rage is actually a thing.
So people have then taken that and said, no, he didn't do it.
No, I would agree that I don't think it was roid rage. I think it was a man with mental health issues who had the power of steroids.
Yeah.
With the power of steroids and mental illness.
He was like jacked as fuck. He was an absolute mutant.
Yeah, the level of testosterone they found at the time wasn't massive, though. Like, it wasn't a ridiculous amount, so they can't attribute that to that. But there's so many obvious other issues that we have discussed.
It's definitely I think roid rage is just a myth. I think it really is it's mental health issues.
Yeah.
And obviously we know, along with the fact that he must be in like some kind of confused, bewildered state with his fucking damage to his brain.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So, episode 2 concluded.
Oh no. So continuing on the Reddit thread, there's a lot of myths and discrepancies in reporting from newspapers and various sources. I'll just blast through a few of these. So the police originally said that Daniel died on Friday because his body was badly decomposing. They then changed their statement to the Saturday. What if all three died on Friday night, indicating a murder by a third party? The police apparently also subsequently changed the manner of Daniel's death 3 times. First, his death involved a garbage bag. Second, he was asphyxiated from some form of chokehold. Third, he was smothered by a pillow. Why would they keep changing the scenario? It was obviously the idea that we discussed earlier about shotguns involved, and all this came up from news reports.
Could it be like the discrepancies in the reporting being our initial thought is X happened, then you get a coroner's report, you go, oh, actually it was this.
Yeah,
and then you get like a...
There's a lot of things happening once. There's a lot to decompress. So and
something so high profile as well, you need to get a statement out. Like,
yeah, they've looked at it, maybe just did like a... That sounds weird saying it, but doing the one over. Here we go. But yeah, and I think a lot of it with other things as well is that the rumour mill starts, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it runs out of control.
So yeah, the police again kept amending the location of Nancy's body. First, she was found downstairs in the family room. Second, she was discovered in upstairs bedroom. Then finally, the state she was found in the house office. Final point they made was Chris's body was so badly decomposed, they believed first that he had died on the Friday or the Saturday before concluding that he died on the Sunday. If that had been the case, who sent the text on the Sunday? Are these all examples of evidence or something more nefarious or just utter bullshit?
To be fair, if someone's gone in on a Friday night and they've killed 3 people, why are they going to wait about in the house for 2 more days to send some texts? Like,
yeah, you're right. I think. I
mean, I'm not a hitman or anything, but if I was,
you want to get
that wouldn't be my MO.
Like, do you think the person went in? They killed the wife, killed the kid, killed Benoit.
And then watched Netflix.
They spent 2 days. This was like prior to Netflix, man. This was like, when did he die? Like
2007.
Okay, they watched Sopranos on VHS.
Maybe he did use Netflix, but he used the rental service as it started out to rent some DVDs.
Smashing blockbuster.
Or maybe he just like, this hitman had a moral quandary because he's never had to put a hit on a dog. And this is why he's like, right, fuck, I can't do it. I'm going to put the dogs in the fucking beach house. Send a message.
So, to make sure someone gets those fucking dogs.
I've given them enough dreamies.
I think the main... Thanks, Rob. I think the main idea behind these Reddit posts are that the police story and report keeps getting changed to try and fit the idea that Benoit caused.
Also, I have read a Reddit post that said fucking Genji was going to end up on the throne of Game of Thrones. So, how much can you trust Reddit, really?
That's true.
Let's not bring up some fresh wounds here.
Yeah, let's bypass any comment I was away to make. So
the Night King's run.
He's got to win. Okay, so
this will probably come out after it's all finished as well.
I know, yeah.
Dave Taylor was an English wrestler with WWE who wrestled in the tag team Blue Bloods with none other than the King, William Regal, throughout the mid to late 90s. None of these names.
I know William Regal. Dave Taylor, I'm not sure.
So he wrestled in the tag team with William Regal. He was involved.
Dave Taylor sounds like he presents a knockoff Top Gear.
Yeah. I don't know who Dave Taylor is. He's not the boy who was with British Bulldog, was he?
Could it be?
Shit.
That'll be beer everywhere.
Yeah, just spilled beer.
Oh, so right, well, quick pause.
And we're back again. I've cleaned up my spilt beer.
Did you clean it or did James clean it?
I cleaned it. I give it a good scrubbing. Also in that time, I also Googled who Dave Taylor was. Fucking no idea who he is. But he's got a cracking set of tits.
Looks good in a unitard.
Yeah, exactly. It was like he's got like a proper set of like B cups and not like pecs. Like a pair of tits.
I know. I don't know why I didn't go for the shirt and leggings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so what about Dave Taylor, James?
So going back into Dave Taylor, who was obviously wrestled throughout the mid to late 90s with the King.
Obviously, because he was obviously very well known.
Yeah, William Regal.
So the WWE wrestler Dave Taylor was actually seen outside the Benoit house shortly before the police arrived on June 24th, 2007.
Returning to the scene of the crime.
Yep. So WWE had contacted the authorities about Benoit's absence and the strange text. Benoit's neighbour, Holly Schrepfer, was instructed by police to enter the property before they got there, secure the dogs that were running around the yard and check on the Benoits. To her unfortunate shock, she discovered the bodies, and upon fleeing the house, she claims to have seen Dave Taylor and his wife, Lisa, carrying a platter of deli food towards the house. Sandwiches and that.
Alright, deli food, sandwiches and that, eh?
He's running holding like 2 10-pound salamis in his hand.
So wait. And then after this, they just, disappeared? Like, where did the deli food go?
So, the...
Women, get my olives.
Yep, so I think this is around the time the police were arriving, and they said, obviously, secured the area, and he was told to go away, and he just disappeared. So the anomaly here stems from the fact that this incident was never revisited by the authorities, and Dave Taylor has since denied that he was even there.
Also, is it standard police procedure to... I mean, they didn't know it was they were dead, were they? So, like, would they legitimately send the neighbour in? I mean...
So they sent... I think that's... I guess what they would do.
Well, I guess if it's a welfare check.
Yeah, if it's a welfare check, right. they send the neighbour. They didn't know at this point.
Right.
He just thought he doesn't seem right. He's not showed up for events. Can you, as a neighbour, go and check on them? And if you need to follow up,
that makes more sense.
But is there any actual truth that Dave Taylor was actually there?
So this is obviously
because it's quite coincidence.
Did he often visit the Benoits with deli food?
So what seems to have happened is he's obviously found through the WWE connections, Benoit's not right, it's not good, let's go and cheer him up with some sandwiches. But he's fucking timed it so horrendously bad, and then WWE told him to keep quiet and say he wasn't there at all.
Right, okay, no, so this is a case
so this is a case of he's obviously accidentally gone, or he could have committed the murder. He's just checking the job was done.
Checking was done. He was the murderer. Do you not know it's done? I'm not gonna lie.
You can't get a fucking outfit to fit him.
I'm not gonna lie.
He's used to his fucking sandwiches.
Actually, I'm going to stop myself from that joke. It's the only time I'll ever stop myself. I'm not going to say that.
No, you can't.
I was going to say, I can't think it's that hard to strangle a child.
Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus.
He's a wrestler as well.
Jesus.
Great guy.
Rob.
I was pretty sure my massive muscles were sufficient for killing this infant.
It's just double checking the job's done. Chris might have been hard to take out now.
Yeah.
So he's maybe squirming about.
Smash him with a salami.
So, that's it. Fucking swing for the cages. But what I don't understand is because like I say, I've not really looked into this. I've kept this up to you, but
okay.
Is the rumour part that he had checked and then scurried away? So because I've never heard in the police reports that Dave Taylor was there.
So they've not revisited it. They've not. So they've just shrugged it off and said he was obviously come to check on them, and he's realised it's.
Why did he bring sandwiches?
I don't know. But maybe he did that as maybe to say, oh, you're not feeling well, you're not being able to get out, get shopping. Here's some.
He's been sat in the house for 3 days and he's fucking hungry.
I don't know. But apparently, the police took a couple of sandwiches and told him to fuck off.
Yeah. Oh, so
what's that? BLT sound. Fuck off.
Maybe it's a case that whilst the police were there, Dave, who happened to maybe live in the area, went, "Go have a check." But I don't believe it's a case that I've never heard any stories about this boy, because I know a bit about this and I would have fucking remembered the fact that Dave Taylor was there.
So I think he lived in the neighbourhood.
All right, okay.
So I guess people think there's cynical reasons behind it, but again, we're going to go back to this very reliable web source, Concussion Incorporated. And they suggest that Taylor may have been sent by WWE to lurk around and get the facts early to prevent a PR problem.
Oh, no, actually, sorry. I remember why he would live in Georgia. Because...
We've got great sandwiches.
Yeah, a lot of good deli meat. Now, at the time, I think the performance center they had, before it moved to Tampa, Florida, was in Georgia.
Right.
So a lot of all these wrestlers, their main place to live would be Georgia, because if they were injured, they would get their treatment and their physio from the performance center.
Exactly. There was a few wrestlers in the area at this time, in Fayetteville,
Good to know who I also know lives in Georgia.
Go on.
We're giving a call back to him from the first episode. Sabu. The fucking triple broken neck, bow-legged Sabu.
He's got about 15 neck casts hung up on the wall.
I mean, he's got a lot to owe to that fucking treatment centre.
Exactly.
So, so this source has suggested he was sent by WWE to lurk around and get the facts early to prevent the PR problem. A logical explanation is that, having heard the family had been sick and that his friend had not shown up for some dates, it's likely he was just checking up on them and making sure there was some food there for them. Some forums, however, suggest that Taylor was the murderer, or at least involved in the conspiracy, and wanted to scout about to see what was unfolding, returning to the scene of the crime so that he could report back to the powers to be.
I'm not going to lie, this whole time we've been talking about Dave Taylor there with his platter of deli meats and things. Given that it's a conspiracy theory, I can't imagine him not wearing a trench coat.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well, is that if you're wanting to get somebody out there, maybe you would get somebody a little bit less inconspicuous.
A bit more conspicuous.
More conspicuous. So you're not going to send out Lurch from the Addams family to walk about, are you? Fucking 6'8" meat house carrying deli meats.
So touching on the tribute show. Remember the Benoit tribute show on the Monday?
It'll be Monday Night Raw.
Yep. So it's since been suggested that individuals within WWE may have become aware that Benoit was probably responsible, but went ahead with the tribute show on the Monday regardless. On his podcast, Chris Jericho speculated that Regal may have known something due to his suspicion and reaction at the WWE events around the time this was happening. This is probably quite likely, though. So inside ring, find out something's wrong.
I think William was probably a part of that inner circle with Benoit as well. Regal belonged to like a bit of the hard knock group. Do you know what I mean? Right. He was, he's a right hardy wrestler. He was known for like being very physical rather than kind of like throwing punches. Of course, it's predetermined and it's fake, but the injuries get real. Yeah, and those. He was known for having like chops that just cut a person open, just chopping somebody and like busting the chest,
make an impact, like
proper old British fucking punch you wrestling.
So let's move on from Dave Taylor and just assume that he's just somewhere floating about to prevent.
He may or may have not have been there, but if he was, it was probably fairly innocuous.
I think the fact that remembering that, I think the performance center where the training was at the time was in Georgia. Goes like, oh yeah, all the wrestlers, that's going to be their hub. Because I think all the wrestlers now live in Florida.
Yeah, so hearing that they're unwell, being in the area, it's not out of the ordinary that he would go around just to check and make sure everything's okay. Yeah.
Probably at the time, maybe he had an injury, that's why he was at the property at the time. Yeah. Because let's be honest, that's a business that runs but a lot of their staff injured.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So let's go down the Kevin Sullivan route.
Oh God, the Taskmaster.
So we've got Kevin Francis Sullivan, born October 26, 1949, is an American professional wrestler and booker, probably best known for his role in WCW. He began his professional career in 1971, wrestling under the ring name Johnny West. In 1997, he transitioned into the role of booker, arranging storylines and booking matches. He adopted a running storyline while in a wrestling feud with Benoit, that Chris Benoit would steal his wife Nancy, Sullivan's real life, his real life obviously. The couple would hold hands and share hotel rooms. While playing these characters and an example of life imitating art, Chris and Nancy developed a real relationship, and ultimately Nancy left Sullivan for Benoit in 1997. Needless to say, the two wrestlers' relationship from then was tainted at best.
So Booker is a cuck then, yeah?
I think he's just a fucking Mongol.
So the whole thing with like holding hands after seeing is this there's an old wrestling rule, which is, I think it's called like kayfabe. And I think kayfabe's just like it comes from like an old title board in WWF or something.
Right.
But what you the wrestlers wouldn't do at the time was break kayfabe. So behind the scenes, this is when wrestling still had a bit of like belief thinking. People thought this was still real.
Yeah.
And
subtle.
That is so subtle.
Sorry, guys.
The massive spike on
Rob, continue.
No, the whole thing with like the kayfabe is that, of course, people behind the scenes, these wrestlers would be friends, but when it came to them going out or traveling, then you had the heels,
the storylines.
The heels, who are the bad guys, would travel together. The baby faces, who are the good guys, would stay together. And so it's a no for the good guy and the bad guy just to be the normal self.
Like seen in the pub together.
So that whole thing of Benoit and Nancy going about together as a couple is under kayfabe. But it also broke kayfabe because he was totally shacking her.
Yeah, so Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan.
I fucking love these stories like this. Where it's just like fucking kayfabe.
So he told, the big Kev himself had told Chris Benoit that he would kill him as a result of stealing his wife. This is something that was heard from numerous sources within the WWE and was taken as a joke at the time, but apparently a threat by the Benoits. Weeks before he died, Chris Benoit's colleagues had said that Chris began taking alternate routes to and from work and back to his house.
Chris, you can forget where it was going.
Chris and Nancy believed that somebody was following them. His friends dismissed his worries as paranoia, but it's believed that Sullivan was watching and following them.
Again, I'm just imagining another massive guy in a trench coat standing behind a tree.
And what you're missing here as well is that this is during these events. This is like 4 years after the. So this is 2007, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then this is 7 years after the WCW were dissolved and bought over by the WWF. Kevin Sullivan at the time, I don't know. No, he wasn't. He wasn't main booker at that time, but he would have been. He was a booker in the early 90s.
Right.
Yep.
And was not inherited by the WWF. So he wasn't even working in the company at the time.
He was actually on the WWE board of directors.
Oh, was he creative?
Yep. So
I didn't know that.
Sullivan was on the WWE board of directors. I think this is around the time that Benoit deceased.
Went local.
Yep. So
down in Acapulco.
He carried. But I don't know for how long. I don't know exactly when it was, but he was at some point on this board.
So what's the time scale got to do with it? So I mean, how long at this point had Benoit been with Nancy?
So I think it's for about a year or a few months throughout 1997 that they had the storyline that Benoit was.
So by this point they've been together for like close to 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Sullivan wrote his own divorce, man. That's rough.
So Sullivan, importantly here, because we're going to take this very dark turn.
Let's go back into more grim, please.
He carried an alternative ring name, Masked Lucifer. Which becomes relevant as he is apparently a high-ranking member of a satanic cult. And I have a quote here from the proposer of this idea, Johnny Lee Clary. Okay, so, and I quote, "The police should consider the possibility that Sullivan carried out these gruesome murders in order to have his revenge, which is what Satanists live for. He could have entered the Benoit's home with accomplices and held the Benoit family at gunpoint. Sullivan could have then tied up Nancy and made Benoit and his son watch as he killed her. The next day after, making Benoit and his son spend the day in pain, having seen all this, murdered Daniel because of his hatred for the offspring of Benoit and Nancy. Maybe he then made Benoit wait an entire day before killing him by hanging him in his basement. By doing this, not only would Kevin Sullivan have lived out his first for the satanic church rituals with his desire for revenge, but he would have destroyed Chris Benoit's reputation. This has happened now as the wrestling world is attacking the memory of Chris Benoit, remembering him as an insane wife and child killer instead of the great world champion wrestler and nice guy that he actually was."
Nice guy.
He was never renowned as a nice guy.
How was that accent? Good.
It's amazing, yeah.
Loving the voices.
Yeah.
He then went on to suggest that the Satanists, the Satanists hate the Bible.
Just love like nice feeling clothes. But the Satanist.
Fuck's sake.
Summer gown.
This is like incarcerated all over again. So the Satanists hate the Bible, and the police stated that a Bible was found next to the bodies of Benoit's wife and son. This would serve as a cruel, sadistic taste of irony, as if to either say, "What good did your Bible do you?" or more importantly, to throw off investigators to keep them from suspecting Sullivan and his Satanists would have been involved.
Fucking hell.
Clary then raises the point that the Benoit family was also murdered on the 10-year anniversary of Nancy's divorce from Kevin Sullivan. Is that not creepy?
Was it actually like to the day? Or was it just happened to have been 10 years since the divorce in another month?
Is that not creepy?
By this dark time.
Is that not the creepiest thing you've ever heard?
That's spooky.
So,
kind of like the Slender Man, but different.
I'm going to give you a bit of reliability on this guy, Johnny Lee Clary.
Okay.
He wrestled as Johnny Angel during the 80s. He was a very interesting figure himself.
He's a wrestler as well. Fucking hell.
He went from being a Ku Klux Klan leader, causing controversy on the Oprah Winfrey Show, to a saved man who now preaches the word of God. Having been in the KKK since he was 14, Clary became the Grand Dragon of the Oklahoma arm of the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. He then went on to become the Imperial Wizard of the whole White Knights organisation in 1989. Clary was an active spokesman for the Klan, defending racism and violence against non-white people. He left the KKK in 1990 and joined none other than an evangelical church and became an ordained minister under World Evangelism Fellowship and Church of God in Christ.
So a really reliable, straight up human being then, yeah?
Yes.
He subsequently travelled around the world preaching the gospel and teaching against racism and hate groups such as the KKK, neo-Nazis and the Aryan nations. What a bizarre turnaround.
What a bizarre turnaround.
So a nut job who went to the church, do you know who to blame in this? Satan.
Yeah.
do you know who it is? It's actually a wrestler who portrayed a devil.
So yeah, I don't have a history of having, completely black and white beliefs about, like literally black and white beliefs about everything. So definitely, if there's a Bible, I was a Satanist.
No. And the thing is, I don't think that's what Satanists do.
I think most Satanists, it's the whole idea of just anti-dogmatic religion as opposed to actually believing in Satan and killing people.
Yeah, the whole sacrifice thing's just a bit of banter from movies. Banter from movies and books.
So, this guy, unfortunately, died of a massive heart attack in 2014. This line of inquiry into Benoit's murder has ended. This guy seems to have solid evidence and looks to be a reliable source, right?
It's really fucked up because I just listened to what you've told me about this boy and I'm just like, he's
not stable himself.
I'm comparing like who's a bigger villain and I'm just like, he's second but not by far. He's a bit of a fucking arsehole.
I mean, Chris Benoit was an arsehole, but didn't, it wasn't a fucking KKK wizard dragon
spewing hate speech.
So, this guy was the main proponent in the theory that Kevin Sullivan was involved, and it's still widely supported today. Do you know yourself, Rob, from watching videos that Kevin Sullivan's constantly trying to defend himself, saying that he didn't kill the Benoit family?
It's
nuts.
It's a shit thing for Sullivan because I'd only this morning had watched a couple of videos for Sullivan and he was somebody who obviously was just like, no, it was like I knew Nancy and she was nice, so she obviously was my wife.
Yeah,
but like things weren't working out and she went her way, I went my way. That was it. And then he was just like, what was your thoughts on Benoit? He's like, I thought he was one of the best wrestlers in the world. And he'd be in one of the videos like,
you would say that if you killed him though, wouldn't you?
But he was just like, he's like, I didn't kill her. It's like,
I didn't stop it.
It was
stop it.
Like,
it's gone too far.
How the fuck am I still the villain in this?
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, definitely.
And it's just a case of like, there's fun conspiracy theorists, and then there's dickhead conspiracy theorists.
What category was he in?
He was a dickhead conspiracy
He was
theorist.
a dickhead, and he was a dickhead conspiracy
And
theorist.
the only reason I can imagine he did it was to get a little bit of viewing on him.
Yeah.
That was it.
So
genuine
bit of attention.
Old school narcissism.
Yeah.
At its best. So one forum board on IGN.com developed the idea that there may be a serial killer killing wrestlers, stating that retired wrestler Bam Bam Bigelow, Sherry Martel, the Benoit family, Brian Adams, and Johnny Crush all died the same
Summer of
year.
69.
Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and Brian Pillman all died the night before they were set to win title belts. Sherry Martel had ties to Nancy Benoit's ex-husband Kevin Sullivan. Therefore, this guy is now a wrestler, serial killer.
Yeah, this I'm digging this.
It's a serial killer.
Like you've gone through all this like fucking circumstantial evidence and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, but that's all bullshit. Fuck yeah, fucking wrestling serial killer. Like,
The ultimate wrestler. The ultimate warrior.
Another user on the same reliable thread developed the idea of a cult. They said someone had seen 3 people leaving the house Saturday in dark clothing, investing that it takes a lot longer to rule out a triple murder than 24 hours. So there's more to it than meets the eye.
Well, no.
well, I mean, it's quite easy to rule out when you have evidence that it was a double homicide and then a suicide. But yeah, sorry. Please, cults, tell me more.
Yeah, you've got serial
killers. Let's go.
Can we just go through those names again?
Oh, the wrestling.
Yeah, the wrestler who the serial killers knocked off.
So we've got Bam Bam Bigelow, Sherry Martel,
Yep.
the Benoit family, obviously including Chris Benoit,
Yeah.
Brian Adams and Johnny Crush all died the same year. Benoit, Eddie Guerrero and Brian Pillman all died the night before they were set to win titles.
Oh, that's just like they threw a couple of coincidences at the end as well.
No, that's evidence.
So this is going, but no. The thing is, the first bunch of wrestlers you've listed, a lot of them are in ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, who weren't really. They did mad stunts, and a lot of them did was they weren't very good wrestlers. So
They were just fucking mental.
So to kind of like back up being a wrestler and how to get like the pops from the crowd is that they'd hit each other with stuff. So this is a lot of blunt force trauma to the head, getting hit with steel chairs, unprotected headshots kind of thing. Getting thrown through tables, land on your back and your head. And then Sherry Martel answers herself is that she had the same doctor as Benoit who was prescribing her pills. She just like, yeah, fucking just died.
But what are there any other like suspicious circumstances around any of these other deaths, or is it the fact that they all destroyed their bodies, minds?
Bam Bam Bigelow was about £600.
Well, remember
Probably
Sherry,
died of a heart attack, I'm presuming.
Yeah.
Like
remember Johnny Grun's, Sherry Martel and Chris Benoit all had the same doctor. As well.
Yes, so they did.
So
yeah.
it could be the doctor as the serial killer. Here we go.
Oof. 10 years wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So another line here.
Okay. So are we just gonna like cut the serial killer angle there? Because I mean, I was getting excited for me.
He was taken out as part of a mob style hit.
Okay, keep going.
You know Dave Meltzer. Well, you don't know Dave Meltzer, but you've heard of
I
Dave
know him
Meltzer.
personally now.
Wrestling journalist Bill Apter. You heard of him?
I do, yeah. He wrestling something,
Okay,
yeah.
so on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho, wrestling journalist Bill Apter talked about his theory behind the Chris Benoit tragedy, making his opinion pretty clear that he believes he was taken out as part of a hit. And again, I quote, just to find it first.
Oh, God.
I quote,
hit the wrong button. So I quote, I think somehow Chris got in some sort of trouble. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was after or whatever, but I think something happened. I think when he got home, Nancy and his son were already dead. Apter continued. To me, if I hit a murder, it's done in a professional way. They can make it look like you did it and you committed suicide as well. I understand that husbands and wives kill each other sometimes. They do. But not the boy. This is what doesn't make sense to me.
Not the boy. God damn it.
think of the children.
So, he's saying more or less that it makes sense he's killed his wife, but
yeah,
because the son's involved.
Is that the only link to it was a mob hit.
I would also like to listen to that podcast because I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho would have shot him down as well.
Possibly, I don't know what the result was.
Chris is the Chris Jericho. Like, he had a lot to say about the Benoit death, and it was a lot about the steroid stuff and that as well. Mm-hmm. But he was just like, this is a guy who just had a lot of blunt force trauma, and he was just fucked.
Yep.
And he's quite. This is like his generation of wrestlers as well. He was when Benoit was a cruiserweight in Japan. So was Chris.
Yeah.
When they were in WCW, he was there as well. WWF, same time. So they followed the same things. They weren't best of friends. They belonged in separate groups. And obviously we can look at Chris Jericho today. He's, I think, probably one of the smartest you can get. He's like, I'm going to protect my body.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do massively stupid things. Fuck this. And you can see the difference between these people.
Is Chris Jericho the one that plays guitar in Walls of Jericho?
No, he's the lead singer of a band called Fozzy. The Fozzy, who have had like 7 albums.
Are they good?
I'm not a big fan. I don't listen to it, but all I do know is that he had a single come out like last year or 2 years ago, and it was like #1 in like Iran, or it was like United Emirates or something like that. It comes up in like my, because obviously I've been looking at these wrestling things for this episode. It's come up in my feed on YouTube,
right?
And I think it's got like fucking like 30 million views. So he's obviously done quite well. He's got a bit of fucking YouTube money from that video.
Decent.
But yeah, I think the whole thing with Bill Apter, though, when the mob is fucking nonsense.
So is it just the fact that he'd killed his son?
It doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense to him, and that's why it must be a mob hit.
I think he spent a lot of time with Chris Benoit.
Oh, right, okay.
And he knows him as a character, and he says it's totally out of character. It's not something he would do. He knows that they had problems in the marriage, but what he loved his son. Like, they do anything for his son, so he doesn't understand why he would take his life as well.
It's the horrible thing about poor mental health.
Yeah,
and that just sounds like Bill Apter is going through a fucking heavy stage of denial.
Yeah.
To try and make up for, like, this is what my friend's done.
Some mental gymnastics,
So he doesn't state who he thinks the killer would be. Could it have been Kevin Sullivan after all? Was it Dave Taylor, we mentioned earlier, sent round disguised with cake and sandwiches?
Bludgeoned with salami.
I think it was the
WWE.
The triads.
I thought it was the Yakuza.
Yakuza, that's the one. Sorry, yeah, he got into some shit when he was in Japan.
Yes,
and that's why he came back to American wrestling. Yakuza finally got to him.
They caught one. Yeah.
That's it. I think we've solved it.
live by the katana, die by the katana.
that's the saying, isn't it?
Was it ordered by WWE or was it arranged by one of Benoit's fellow wrestlers?
Well, just explain it's Yakuza.
It's fun what you can find.
It's the Yardies when he was wrestling in Jamaica.
So, here's some noteworthy suggestions of who it was following 4chan and Reddit.
Ah, yes.
So,
the best place for facts.
One forum member stated that it was Johnny Nitro who murdered Benoit because he knew he would be a replacement if something happened. Now was his chance to shine.
So Johnny Nitro is he's still quite a big player in wrestling. He's like he does like parkour. But I think he does a lot of like
parkour wrestling.
No, like I think he legit does like that because the acrobatics of it kind of comes into it, and he can do a lot of crazy diving and jumping stuff and leaping. But I think he does a lot of comedy stuff, and all round seems like a nice guy who wouldn't. It doesn't seem like the kind of guy from interviews who would. Yes,
it's all those ones you least expect, though.
That's it. Johnny Nitro. Yeah. Could be. Could have strangled the child and a woman. But he's just a dog guy. He just let the dog slap. He's like, oh, man's best friend.
So, wait for it. Mankind did it. He was jealous of the level of brain damage that Benoit had. And they tried to throw a private TLC match at Benoit's house that went wrong.
Oh, you fucking hell! I love 4chan and Reddit for this shit, man. Honestly.
Next on the list. Did Kane kill Chris Benoit and his family? Was he practicing tombstones and choke slams too aggressively at the Benoit house?
He got out of hand.
7-year-old child.
And this also ties back to the Satan thing as well, if Kane's involved.
So, on a thread about Chris Benoit posted by a user called Staying Alive on an IGN board forum. And I quote, "The Illuminati, WWE had something to do with it. Many things in WWE have supported that they're associated with the Illuminati. Many wrestlers' deaths in 2007 have happened when they're supposed to win a title match. That can be a huge coincidence, or does the Illuminati have to do with it?"
Why is everything?
Why does the Illuminati why does the Illuminati care about professional wrestling?
I have no idea.
If the Illuminati is a secret group, right, they want to try and keep secret. The one person they're not going to want within their group is Vincent McMahon. He's a fucking idiot.
Also, if you're trying to control the world, use something. Why wrestling?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it's not even in its high point. It's a low point after like the whole Stone Cold and Rock.
I mean, through money and capitalism, and that I can see that being something. All right, okay, how are we gonna like manipulate people? Wrestling. We're gonna kill their favorite wrestlers.
Yes. Yes. Let's kill the rabid Wolverine and Latino Heat.
So bottom of the forum list, Benoit was going to sue WWE for brain damage, so Vince did what he had to do.
There's a
shred of truth.
There's an element of
there is an element of truth, because there is I think it's still an ongoing thing where there is multiple wrestlers who have teamed up and have been in the process of trying to sue Vince McMahon for damage.
Yeah. For
potential damages for what's happened to them. So they were saying there's something they've never been told of. But the fact that Chris Benoit's like, oh, I'm going to sue you. Chris Vince has just snapped his fingers. Just Thanos him and his whole family.
So... let's fall nicely into the world of satanic cloning.
Oh, Jesus fuck.
We're still going.
Oh, God.
So this guy, you can check him out online. This guy is called Donald Marshall. He's the self-proclaimed king of satanic cloning. Apparently a whistleblower for the Illuminati. And his website's called DonaldMarshallRevolution.com.
What's the difference between cloning and satanic cloning?
Yeah,
I think it's a very kind of similar thing. I spent far too much time on this, but I got a good quote.
It's all the clones have 666 on the back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like a Hitman with a barcode.
I got a really good quote. Try and stay with me here because I can't read it. The fear of eternal torture as a clone and their families being killed inspires loyalty through fear. They've made examples of others every once in a while. Chris Benoit, the wrestler for WWE, was one such example. They messed him up badly. He's a really good person, wouldn't be evil, didn't like them, called them names while they said he didn't want to attend. They made an example of him. He'd also stolen the wife of a rich satanic cloner with a lot of pull within the Illuminati. He got it bad, dead now, killed his wife, kidding himself. He was in the mental ward for his therapist saying he's not crazy, that Queen Elizabeth tortures his soul in another dimension. And there are demons there. He got very religious, not knowing he was a clone, thinking Elizabeth had caged his soul. He was one of Elizabeth's favourite slaves there, but he would disobey and insult, and she's made an example out of him. Bad, like Bernie Mac, but more prolonged. More prolonged, involving his immediate family and friends. So I'm going to clear Chris Benoit's name because a bunch of people said he was crazy, had too many hits to the head and steroids and painkillers. That it was cloning and MK Ultra that messed him up.
MK Ultra as well.
There we go.
Wow.
So the conspiracy of cloning involves a celebrity being taken or killed by a secret elite power, Illuminati, and replaced by a lookalike. Examples of this include Paul McCartney, Avril Lavigne, Beyonce, and Taylor Swift. This guy describes Taylor Swift as a Satan-worshipping clone and mother of a lizard.
Wait, and does fucking Queen Lizzie have ultimate power over this? So,
yeah, so
what's her involvement?
She's the queen of Illuminati, satanic cloning.
The fuck, I'm Bernie Mac.
so
don't bring Bernie Mac into this.
I think we've said enough about satanic cloning.
I don't think we've said enough.
Do you want me to tell you what is on his website as how he describes himself?
Is this the guy who made the quote?
Donald.
Yes.
Donald.
So you'll see this on the website. If you check out the website, donaldmarshallrevolution.com. I quote from the first page: Donald Marshall, a former Illuminati insider turned internet whistleblower, detailing his first-hand accounts with a powerful global organisation known as Illuminati. He describes their secret involvement in such criminal acts as murder, kidnapping, torture, rape, child abuse and child exploitation. Marshall exposes many major Illuminati political players, such as Queen Elizabeth, her husband Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Charles, and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Fucking hell.
I strongly suggest checking out that website because it's...
I'm intrigued.
It's very, very grim. But
donate to his Patreon.
I spent much more time than I'd like to admit on that website. And I think we can just move on.
God.
So...
What a fuck... What's wrong with people? Like, I've gone off Benoit now and I'm just like, these are people that should be treated.
I think fuck the internet. I mean, people have always been mental, but now they've got a voice and it's fucking stupid.
Do you know what I mean? It's like there has to be like...
I mean, it's bad enough like the people that fucking, I don't know, post shit about their lives on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough that they've got a voice. Giving these people a voice and a fucking forum to spout their bullshit.
It's so dangerous. I mean,
it's so easy to like, you know, at least back in the day, you had to like buy a David Icke book to.
Yeah.
I think these guys took it on like a house on fire.
Yeah, and it's, oh God, it's like they'll bring anything up to try and get any form of attention.
Yeah.
Like obviously you can see he's dated himself because he's obviously mentioned in the likes of like, I can only imagine Bernie Mac had just recently died
when that quote
came out. So I'm still stuck on Bernie Mac. That threw me for a loop. I forgot about Bernie Mac dying. I'm quite fucking upset.
Yeah.
But fuck, what crazy. So I really wish the Illuminati was right, like true, and he gets sniped off.
Exactly. It's probably the main argument for it not existing.
I know.
If he was a
I'm sorry,
whistleblower.
or maybe it's the main argument for them existing. It was like, well, somebody's going to read it and go, well, that's a load of shit. Maybe it's the best kind of protection for them is these fucking madmen.
So let's go back to the kind of logical and kind of seriousness.
Let's get away from the satanic cloning and then come back to the child death.
Benoit's demise then. So Benoit's only prior arrest was for a DUI in the past. There were no calls to his current residence. However, a report from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution states that Nancy Benoit filed for divorce in May 2003 and cited domestic abuse on the documents. According to the report, she got a restraining order in May 2003 against Chris Benoit. In August 2003, Nancy Benoit filed to dismiss the divorce petition and the restraining order. Other than the separation for those 3 months in 2003, Chris and Nancy lived together since 1997. The couple had married in 2000. Chris Benoit had apparently taken out a new life insurance policy which listed his ex-wife and oldest child, David, 14, and Megan, 10, as the beneficiaries. Nancy apparently confronted Chris about it and he refused to change it. Nancy also found out that Chris Benoit set up a new bank account in the name of his ex-wife in Edmonton. Clearly a lot of tension in the relationship. So people noticed Chris become a different person after Eddie Guerrero passed away.
Yeah.
His wife Nancy had told her friends that Chris Benoit's drug usage escalated badly after Eddie died. After the death of neighbour Mike Durham, Johnny Grunge and Victor Black Cat Marr, Chris Benoit became worse. Benoit was considered to be Victor Marr's best friend during his time in Japan. And Benoit refused to attend Durham's funeral, saying he never wanted to return to church and hated religion. He seemed to be in a bad way. Chris's father also suggested that Chris was struggling emotionally, and in an interview after his death said that Chris called him on Father's Day and told him that he wished he could spend more time with his family, but he'd had to work. It was Father's Day and he wanted to be at home with his family, but was on the road. He was obviously really struggling.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was in a very bad way. Can just touch on kind of WWE view on things and then just start rounding things off.
Yeah.
So,
it's a real back down to earth.
Bring back the Satan cloning.
So, mandatory.com/wrestling zone released statements from Vince McMahon as soon as the news of the death were reported, and the WWE boss jumped straight to defending himself in the WWE. The head of World Wrestling Entertainment said he was worried about a rush to judgment on whether steroids had played a role in a double murder and suicide involving pro wrestler Chris Benoit. Steroids were found in Benoit's Georgia home, but Vince McMahon told NBC's Today show that focus on the fact that a number of other prescription drugs were also found. He said it was all speculation until toxicology tests are in, and said that could take weeks. So basically McMahon emphasised the idea that other pressures could have been a factor. WWE lawyer suggested that Benoit had argued with his wife over the care of their son with relation to the disability, possibly Fragile X. And in the days before the family was found dead, McMahon says what happened was a horrific tragedy, but stuck by the idea that there was no way of telling that Benoit was a monster, averting all blame away from the WWE. Yep.
Yeah.
Vince is a...
Well, I mean, there's maybe no direct link to the WWE, but strong contributing factor to Benoit's mental health.
Big time.
Probably.
Big time. And this is something that I think has shaken the WWE. I think this instant, what's happened here. And it's changed the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has changed the sport, and in a massive way. They've introduced like a lot stricter drug checking.
Right.
I think it's a combination of Benoit and then getting sued by multiple people.
Yep.
Well, that'll do it.
And the concussion relating stuff is a huge thing in WWE now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
for...
Yeah, and it's not just that now. Is that the thing with Benoit? He was supposed to just getting shaken like every couple of nights.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the concussion damage is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, now like wrestlers have retired because they were getting concussions too much.
Yeah.
And I've seen kids, but like, adults that are still healthy. So the likes of recently, you've had the likes of, after this Tyson kid, he's retired. He's in great shape, but he was getting concussions too easy. So like, no, we need to put you out. We don't want any damage for you in the future.
So
he retired, and then he's went into being like a person, like a background kind of trainer for the WWE.
Right.
And the likes of probably the most famous one's Daniel Bryan. He's a newer style wrestler, but he did a lot of kind of harder style wrestling, a lot about the body, but took a lot of headshots, and he got concussed a lot. And then he retired as a champ, double champ. And he's only come back recently after like further tests, and he's shown because he had the scan and he thought it was kind of like a brain bleed. Where he's like, nah, you need to stop now.
Yeah.
It's only on like further check, and he found out it was, and it was just like a shading. So he's now back in wrestling, but he gets tested after every match he has.
So that's basically the crux of it, is just that there's a lot more awareness about people's, especially when it comes to sort of brain injury.
Because there's too many issues of these older wrestlers having heart attacks, having mental health issues, all dying really young,
and all is pretty much a direct cause of their job, effectively.
And they don't have the health care to cover them. One of the most kind of tragic stories, it's not in relation to Benoit, is about we've probably all heard about Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
And one of his quotes was he went back into wrestling when he was like 50, and he was like, why are you doing this now? And he's like, well, I don't have the money, I've got the health care, and I need the money, and I'm not going to reach 60. I'm not going to reach 60 to get my pension. And he died at 59.
That's so good.
Fucking hell.
And that's it. That's Rowdy.
I think a lot of the well-being policies have changed now in sports, kind of after these sort of incidents.
Yeah, exactly what you were saying, Rob.
Yeah. The whole steroid thing is still something that still exists. There's for the testing reasons, part-time performers don't get tested. And
so your bigger names only have to perform on big ticket cards. Don't necessarily need to get tested. Is that how it goes?
Probably the future man behind the WWF, Triple H, who's married to Vince McMahon's daughter.
He shagged on a stage once in the ring.
No, that was that was Edge. That was Edge and Lita. But
damn it.
He's
I thought I was going to come out with a bit of fucking wrestling knowledge.
He was once with China, though.
He was.
And Ben knows about China.
Some dicklet on the gal.
You beat me to it. I just raised my index finger up. Like, he is in phenomenal shape every WrestleMania season. And also,
how does he do it?
And also a man who has, is it like 3 times he's been caught by the UFC for juicing?
Who's that?
Brock Lesnar, who's also a part-time performer.
Yeah, well, that's us getting to the half-hour mark, so we should probably start rounding up. So, while we thoroughly enjoyed some of the batshit fucking craziness that came out of that, it's pretty safe to say.
I think this is easily the most by the book theory.
Yeah, is the official statement. There's always going to be inaccuracies in reporting when it's something so high profile and it's news is coming out very quickly. There's always going to be inaccuracies just surrounding that, but I think it's fairly clear what actually happened.
This is somebody who was essentially just disabled, very strong, and had mental health issues.
Yeah,
and he went off the rails. He lost his best friend. He lost his best friends all pretty soon, and was coping using drugs. That obviously wouldn't have helped his mental health either.
No.
One last point. Do you think it's frightening at how quiet the WWE have gone about it all? They obviously removed all the merchandise from their website. They had "I Did It" T-shirts that are associated with the Vince McMahon storyline.
Yes,
that's sort of a natural. I wouldn't say course correction, but one of your big stars commits a horrible crime, whatever the reasons for it, you don't want that association.
The WWE has a habit of creating storylines at the time that fall into horrific events, like obviously prior to the event happening. So for Chris Benoit, Vince McMahon had his character murdered in a car bomb. And the week later, Chris Benoit killed his family, and then he was out on the stage, and Chris is dead. So obviously breaking it, going I didn't die. They've
just removed everything.
Yeah, they totally cleaned it. And then for the 9/11, the week prior to 9/11, their main villain was like a Middle Eastern man, and had mates in balaclavas attack the Undertaker. 9/11 happened. That storyline went missing, and even the wrestlers got sacked. They literally go for a deep clean, and then they hide their heads in the sand.
Yeah.
There's actually really fun interviews you see with Kurt Angle a few years ago, where he actually compares his opponent to being a much bigger Chris Benoit. An interviewer just shat himself. It's like cut.
Yeah, it's
and just panned out, and
it's just within the rest of the world.
So
no one wants to talk about it. Yeah,
no.
I mean, is that right though? Is it right to pretend he didn't exist? Should he be included in the Hall of Fame? And he definitely should have had more psychological help. There's no doubt.
Definitely. But they didn't care at the time, and now they've been put under fire. Like with the internet getting bigger and bigger, they can't hide from it.
Yeah,
they can't hide from it. But saying that
the
though,
same way they used to.
They did a deal with the Arab states recently, and they've signed a 10-year deal for a couple of billion, and this was all during the time when that that writer went missing and got murdered.
Oh, in the Arab states.
Yeah,
right.
And they're just you can't go there, and you had people the rest was I'm not going there. It's a fucking terrible country, run by these princes. And they're like, let's just go. It's money. So they're still dodgy.
Deal signed. So fucking.
But for Benoit, he's been wiped from the cards. The most controversial thing that happened recently in regards to it is that Jericho still keeps in touch with Chris Benoit's oldest son, just to make sure he's doing okay and everything. Because obviously it's not this kid's fault.
Yeah, of course.
And then invited him to come behind the stages for like one of the shows for when they're setting up the ring and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frightening because you can see everyone's obviously in eggshells. This is Benoit's kid, and he's a fucking spitting double of him as well. But obviously, but not.
You were saying earlier, like in between recordings, that he's actually trying to get into wrestling as well. Yeah,
and it's pretty tough. I would go get an office job. Because it's the thing is that with these wrestling promotions, they're all fucking carnies. So they'll work in a way as like, hey, we'll push you to the top. Let's have a little chat about your dad. Let's make this a storyline.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So.
Okay, cool. I think we'll probably all agree that given the autopsy, toxicology, all the head trauma, all the things going on with his life at the time, that the official narrative seems to be the
I would agree.
The kind of story. He wasn't in a good way, and obviously encourage anyone that is feeling that way to seek help.
Yeah, no, I think that's the point. I would say it's closely followed by satanic clothing. But I'll go with what.
I mean,
Mankind.
The Mankind. TLC in the house is fucking hard.
I like as much as I want satanic clothing to be to be the
reason.
I just want my Bernie back.
I want Bernie back. Right, sound. So thank you to anyone that might have actually listened to this.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Cheers.
Hi.
I hope we've been educated.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Boris Johnson describing women who wear burqas as looking like letterboxes and bank robbers.
We'll begin immediate construction of a border wall.
Jet fuel can't melt steel beams.
Thanks for coming. Welcome to the White House.
Over.